So do I call you Dad now?
Whatever you're comfortable with, I suppose.
Dad. When will I see you next? Dad? Dad, 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 Dad. Dad?
Next week, same time. Eat with your chopsticks, honey, not your fingers.
It tastes better. Dad.
It's rude, Billy.
Oh, that hurt.
It did not. Eat properly.
I'm really interested in how you cast.
Del. Yeah, I mean, I would just say about Del that I don't know that Del necessarily considers themselves trans, although identifies as gender non-conforming, so prefers not to be identified as either gender, and is very different to the character on screen. But we were working with Del as a consultant, basically, and Del had done some performance stuff around singing. Del's got an amazing singing voice, and I kind of knew about that, and we come from a place in Australia called Adelaide, which is pretty small and everyone knows each other. And so we just started working together and talking about the character and talking about what it feels like to be someone that you don't feel exactly how people see you, essentially. And it became very apparent that Del was the same age as the character, and so we did a screen test and then started working together as actor, as Del as the actor. And a lot of the cast are like that. They're sort of friends and people that we know that aren't none of them have been in a film before. So they're all people that we just found for different reasons. Yeah.
Because the whole film was a great collaboration, wasn't it? You're a small, tight unit.
Yeah. Closer Productions there's 7 of us, but there was 4 of us that made this. And we worked together from the very early stages and went into this program, Film Lab, which was up there, which was a development workshop, and we were funded on the team and a 1-page idea. And then we spent 3 weeks in a workshop, and 2 of the tutors are actually in the audience tonight who haven't seen the film until now. So hello, you two. I don't know where you are. This one. Yeah, we worked there, but. We're strong collaborators and we work very closely, and then the cast that came in also worked incredibly closely with us and openly, I would say. Before we go on, I just want to give you all the compliment. That's why I'm holding this weird bit of paper. And so these guys are going to pass out these, and you can take one, just like you used to take, phone numbers if you wanted to get a flat. Take one. It's a compliment, and what's on there with the compliment is a link to a website, and that will send you to a free app that allows you to do your own 52 Tuesdays. It's called My 52 Tuesdays, and every Tuesday, if you sign up, you'll get a question, and you respond to it by taking your photo with the answer, and you do a whole year worth of responses, and you can look at other people's.
And you've had a lot of responses to that, haven't you? There's,
I think there's about 3,000 people on it, and people come in and out of the project. Doing it, and some people do it every week and are incredible, and whenever you start you get to do 52 weeks, so come and join us because we would love to have more.
I was also going to ask about, I know that when you began the collaboration with the screenwriter, you had a bit like the formula that needed the pieces to be filled in, and how did you come up with the idea about a transitioning parent?
Matt, the writer, came to us with the idea of every Tuesday 2 people meet for a year, and we're going to shoot it on Tuesdays. And we all liked that, and in fact there was a great potential inside that everyone kind of felt, I think.
Was it always to be a Tuesday? Did you try out different...
It was always a Tuesday. Okay. And I think that it sounds good, and I think it's... Matt would say that it's the day of the week when, nothing really happens, like you might go to yoga or something. And I think we both felt that it was kind of when life happens, not sort of the big events of life, but the other bits of life. So even inside the workshop, we stayed with just that idea and interrogated why we wanted to make something like that. And then we sat down and we had to come up with our characters. And we came up with Billy and James and Harry all at once in a room, in a pub. And we were interested in a family. I think everyone had come in thinking that the idea would become about lovers. When you say two people meet every Tuesday for a year, there's sort of an instant I thought that it will be two lovers, I think. And I think we were interested in other kinds of relationships. So the mother and child thing seemed like something great to explore. And for me, I was very interested in family interactions, and those three characters all questioned kind of the rules of how we live, I think, the rules of the kinds of relationships that we have and who we are. And it gave us great, we needed characters that we could live with for a whole year, much longer actually, and we felt like they were them. And I was very interested in the moment when you meet your parents and as adults, and you meet them. And for me, being a parent, James's conflict of feeling that the conflict between being a man and being a mother was a very kind of real concern, something that felt kind of close to me, trying to work out how to be, myself, that sits outside of being a parent and also a parent. Tilda, the actor, she was young. She was 16 when we started working, and she is a very excellent person and quite strong. And originally the character of Billy was quite different, and Tilly brought a whole new kind of element to it. And if I recall the first scene we had written, or the first week, there was a nude scene for that character, and Tilly was like, I'm not going to do that scene. And before we cast her, And, so there was a very strong kind of relationship that went on between us and Tilly and her parents as well, to kind of guide us through what was going to happen in that role. And Tilly's very much someone who needs to understand what we were doing and why. And so that question came up all the time and informed who that character was quite strongly. There's sex scenes and things like that, for her, there's very little that's explicit in the film that she does. But certainly the three teenagers worked really closely with us on ideas about sexuality and representation of young people. And there's an Australian artist, Bill Henson, who there's a lot of controversy in Australia for him presenting images of young people that are naked in art. And we explored that a lot, and particularly the two girls had sort of researched that stuff a lot. So a lot of the story kind of came out of those conversations. But there were times where I remember Tilly's parents going, we really don't like this scene that you're doing, and basically we just have to talk things out and get to a place where we were all good about it, and certainly that the three teenagers felt like they were in the right place for. Yeah.
It was interesting when it was shown at the Berlin Film Festival, because it was shown in a part of the festival called Generation 14 Plus, which is for sort of young people, but older children, so 14 plus. How was it received with young people? Yeah, I mean,
for us it was thrilling to show it to that audience, and so we had these audiences full of young people, and we had a youth jury, and we had people coming and talking to us that were interviewing us and writing articles who were 15 and 16, and they were great conversations. It's something. I mean, I feel very passionate about that side of the story, and we spend a long time working on that. So those conversations are great to have. And I felt like in Australia I wouldn't be having those conversations with a young audience, and maybe we will. I don't know, but it wouldn't be as respected as it was in Berlin, for sure. We'd worked on the script for a long time, but we had these long character histories, and we had a story document which was only a page long, which kind of outlined what was going to happen. We had 12 weeks of script written when we started, and we wrote as we went. We were supposed to be 6 weeks ahead all the time, but we weren't. We were always scripting until the last minute. And the cast would get their scripts the Tuesday before, the end of the shoot, and then we would rehearse on Fridays and again on Mondays. And sometimes the script would change a bit over that time. But the very last scene of the film, we always had that scene. And there was always the expectation that it might change depending on what happened inside the year, that it could change. And in a lot of ways what happened was that we had to sort of, when we started working with Tilly, we had to kind of change the story to get her version of Billy to that final place. That changed the story quite a lot. And it started out that we were working much more consistently across the two characters. So James's story was much stronger in our first version of the first 12 weeks. And they had a whole lot of stuff with him, but the nature of the Tuesday promise and the rule meant that we felt like we weren't getting access out into James's other life, and it felt kind of dismissive to sort of show little bits of it. So we actually made the choice there to kind of restrict it into Billy's point of view, basically, so that what we were seeing was her version of their meetings, essentially. Yeah, in part it was a character thing, us needing to give James something else. Kind of, it felt like he needed to do something at that point that we wanted. We had been reading this magazine called Original Plumbing, which is these guys in Brooklyn and San Francisco, and it's so great. It's like, it's just got such great style and great articles, and those guys, one of them's in the film, and the other one we have other interviews with the editors of that. I felt like we were never getting to see any community around James, anything other than Billy and Lisa. And I felt like that was part of the form, the Tuesday form, and also part of James's decision to kind of reduce his year or reduce what was going on to make it simple. But in some respects, we just wanted a little bit more. We wanted something else. And it was amazing for us to do that, meeting those guys. And then also meeting Monica, the girl whose father had transitioned when she was 17, and it was so close to our story. And weirdly, we'd just met her, and she just started telling us about that. So, it was really just about wanting to bring in something else to the story. Yeah. We release on May 1st in Australia, so we haven't released there yet. So I don't know. I mean, you never know if audiences are going to come, and you hope so. It'll be art house, and it's small in Australia to do that. I can only go from what audiences tell me, and it's been fairly broad, the people that connect to it for various reasons. So that's been strong, but it's hard. Like we were just discussing before, the LGBT films sometimes really struggle to just other audiences to come into, even though obviously audiences love them a lot of the time, but to actually get people to come, in Australia is hard. I'm sure it's hard here too.
Because I felt like it was such a strong film. There's a generation of children of LGBT parents who are growing up who it would be great for them to see this sort of film when they're 15 or 16.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.